There is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why I am on the trail of the Nephilim. I'm so excited about this. This is this month's copy of Prophecy Watchers. Guess who's on the front cover? It's the first time. I think PW has been there for 10 years, and and I've written numerous articles, but this is the first time I had been on the cover. I'm going to push in here, folks. My handy dandy little deal here, and there it is. L.A. Marzulli. The Khafre Pyramid and what lies beneath. Bum, bum, bum. So I'm really proud of that. And that is the first. I'm going to be reading the article because, you know what? This is cutting edge stuff. And if it holds, and I believe it will hold, but that's conjecture, it'll change everything. Anyway, folks, we'll get into this. But first, a word from our trusted sponsor. As we age, our body's natural collagen production declines, leading to visible signs like thinning hair, brittle nails, joint discomfort, and worst of all, wrinkles. That's right. Collagen, or the lack of it, is one of the leading causes of wrinkles and sagging skin. Unfortunately, most collagen typically found on store shelves don't provide the right type or amount of collagen necessary to combat wrinkles. This is why I use multi-collagen. And folks, I'm obsessed with the results I'm seeing on my skin. Multi-collagen provides the 5 types of premium collagen that my skin needs to look more youthful. I've seen smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer lines, and a more youthful glow. Plus, it easily mixes with coffee or tea or whatever you want to mix it with and has zero flavor. Grab your bag now and it's 51% off only at healthwithla.com. That's healthwithla.com. Plus, order today to also receive free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free shipping with your order. Once again, this limited time offer is only available at healthwithla.com, healthwithla.com. Check it out, folks. I take it as often as I possibly can. The byline for this show is there is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. So, we have the standard Egyptologists, mainstream archaeologists, which tell us that the Egyptians built the pyramids. And we know that there are just dynamics that are built in there into the pyramids, which, let's say 100 years ago, we didn't know. For instance, the Great Pyramid of Giza is actually 8-sided. It's not 4. And we didn't know this until an airplane flew over and saw. So I'm just trying to figure out, I'll do it this way. Okay. So let's say here is the side, one of the sides of the pyramid, right? So it seems to be nice and flat. Well, guess what? It's not. It goes in, it's concave, but you don't see it unless you're in the air. And that was fairly a recent find. So again, instead of a 4-sided pyramid, it's an 8-sided pyramid. Because right there, it goes in, it indents. I'm kind of trying to demonstrate it. It's kind of hard to do. But I think you get my drift here. What were these really? And did the Egyptians build them? In my opinion, absolutely not. Now, if Zali Hawass were here, all due respect to Mr. Hawass, we would go at it. We would definitely cross swords. He would call me names like an amateur archaeologist and I'm a racist, and that's what they do. Well, let's just show me how you move the granite blocks and put those above the king's chamber. Just show me that. How do you make something which, when the limestone casings were on it, must have been a wonder? Well, it was a wonder of the ancient world. So I believe that all of this is pre-flood. So let me read the article here because I think you'll find it interesting. The Khafre Pyramid, 2 satellites made repeated flyovers of the Giza Plateau. What they saw in the scans holds true. What lies beneath? For the record, I am always on the trail. I never stop searching and looking for stories that may reveal a hidden ancient past, just like this one. A few weeks ago, while sitting at the breakfast table checking my email and scanning news stories, I suddenly read this headline about a hidden city under the pyramids at the Giza Plateau. I'm thinking, what? I contacted the scientists who penned the article, Filippo Biondi and Corrado Malanga, and amazingly, I was able to have them both on my daily show. As I interviewed these 2 men, I was made aware of something that I had not realized before, and perhaps was not reported in the mainstream media. They utilize 2 satellites in their scan work developed by 2 independent companies, which made repeated flyovers of the Giza Plateau. And according to Beyond the Imalanga, what they saw in the scans holds true. In other words, they are huge structures. There are huge structures beneath the Khafre Pyramid, which is the pyramid in the middle of the 3. So I want to thank my webmaster, Chauncey Green. Every now and then he'll surprise me with something like this. And he's hidden something in the Khafre Pyramid. You won't tell me what it is. I'm not breaking it open, Chauncey. So this is a model. Obviously, these pillars, there are 8 of them allegedly, that go down about 2,100 feet below the surface. What are we looking at here? This is technology. Could we do it in modernity? 2,100 feet below the surface? You be the judge of that. I'm going to say probably not. Probably not. But let's continue. Of course, naysayers accuse their discovery as junk science. Egyptian archaeologist Zahi Hawass immediately went on the record criticizing their work. He described the rumors as nothing but fabrications propagated by individuals with no expertise in ancient Egyptian civilization or the history of the pyramids. Well, so you're, because they're going up against the status quo, Zahi Hawass, in my humble opinion, is throwing everything he possibly can at these guys to discredit their work. But we'll see what happens, won't we? He also said that there is no scientific evidence. This is how the game is played. I've experienced firsthand with our Paracas DNA findings of elongated skulls. We heard everything from the armchair critics to dismissive attacks like the DNA was contaminated, you're a pseudo-archaeologist, you're a pseudo-scientist, you're a racist, etc. This is what happens when anyone, challenges the status quo, which they have built their reputations and careers, their life careers on. These people hold to the prevailing paradigm with a tenacity and fervor that can only be called religious. Most are in lockstep with others embracing their paradigm, which is Darwinism evolution. And this is what mainstream academia and the scientific community cling to. Any other data and ideas that run contrary to this consensus are, for the most part, disregarded, immediately criticized, and done away with. Welcome to my world. So behind me, you can see one of the elongated skulls. I suppose I should bring it up here for a show and tell. But, we were immediately told that, well, LA, these elongated skulls are done by cranial deformation, cranial headboarding. And I just want to thank our friend, Brian Forrester. That changed our lives. That happened in 2012 or 2013 when I contacted Brian, and the rest is history. We went down. We are the only team that I'm aware of. There are others who allegedly went down and took samples, but there's nothing peer review. In fact, you can go to www.marzulli.com or streaming.marzulli.com. It's number 6, the DNA evidence, and everyone presents their findings. So, we're very transparent, and we realize, yes, some of these skulls are done with cranial deformation when you wrap the skull of a child, but not all of them. And our anthropologist on our team, Rick Woodward, was really the man who put the idea, or put it on the map, that the foramen magnum, which is where the spinal column attaches to the base of a skull, was pushed all the way to the posterior. So we are actually in the process of doing new DNA testing. That's all I will say about this right now. Stay tuned. We're probably going to be revealing something this summer, but we'll see what happens. So let's continue. Incredibly, what follows is a brief edited explanation of what the scientists say they discovered both inside and beneath the Khafre Pyramid on Egypt's Giza Plateau. Advanced scans in 2025 have uncovered an astonishing underground complex beneath the Khafre Pyramid. The team discovered 5 multi-level structures inside the pyramid itself, linked by pathways, plus 8 deep cylindrical wells plunging 648 meters, and at their base, 2 massive cube-shaped chambers spanning 2 kilometers beneath the ground. What are we looking at here? What are we looking at? In my opinion, this was a power plant. This was in the ancient world before the flood, this powered the globe. That's conjecture, but we'll see where this goes as more information comes out. The scale of these subterranean works absolutely boggles the mind. It's a complete game changer. Naturally, across social media and the internet, people launch into grand speculation, such as, could this actually be evidence for a super advanced civilization responsible for engineering and building such structures? One wonders if the other pyramid-like structures around the globe have similar types of structures beneath them. The reason I bring these ideas up is that the New Agers, the ancient astronaut theorists, and other occultists will all want to point to an outside agency other than human beings who are the actual builders. In some ways, these speculators are correct. However, there is another biblical explanation, which you'll likely never hear outside of Christian circles, and I can narrow it down even further. Those of us who hold to the Genesis 3:15 narrative with the mixing of the seed realize that before the flood of Noah, there was a civilization that reached many parts of the earth. Thank you, Gary Stearman, for teaching this at the Nephilim Mountains Conference. By the way, there's a 10-part DVD set, which is coming out soon. Russ Dizdar, Gary Stearman, Chief Joseph Riverwind, Fritz Zimmerman, and yours truly. More about that in upcoming days. You'll want to check that out. And it's also thought that the continents were not split up, and the different continents that we see now are all connected. This is called the Pangia Theory. Scripture points to this. In the days of Peleg, the earth was divided. That's Genesis 10:25. So what does that mean? In the days of Peleg, the earth was divided. Were the continents moved? Now, if you go to an evolutionist, they'll say absolutely not. But remember, we serve a supernatural God. Do we really believe the things that we read in our Bible, right? Do we really believe those things? The virgin birth, floating axe heads, talking donkeys. When was the last time you heard a talking donkey, talking horse, Mr. Ed? Hello, Wilbur. So, what do you do with that, right? Men that walk on water, word of us changed to wine, men that rise from the dead, men that rise other people up from the dead. I mean, seriously? Do we really believe what's in the guidebook of the supernatural? Do we hold it sacrosanct? Do we understand that there's a supernatural dynamic all through the biblical prophetic narrative? And if we don't grasp it, then we're trying to figure out what's going on. Much of the church has an anti-supernatural bent to it. But I digress as usual. Let's continue. In the days of Peleg, the earth was divided. So there's a couple of ways to interpret this. One, the earth and its landmass was eventually divided amongst the offspring of Noah into territories that each claim had settled in as their own. Okay, I get that. Here's number two. The continents on earth were originally connected and were all one landmass until literally divided with continents moving into the places on earth that we see today. I oppose these questions to anyone immersed in Egyptology who will hear them. My questions are these. In the heart of the Khafre Pyramid are huge granite ashlars weighing up to 70 tons each, comprising the roof of what is called the King's Chamber. So that's really a misnomer. I said the Khafre Pyramid. That is the Great Pyramid of Giza, the largest pyramid of the three. That's in the King's Chamber. That's where the blocks are. These megalithic blocks were quarried at Aswan, roughly 550 miles south of Giza. I'm asking, how were they quarried? How were they transported? And how then were they lifted high up into the resting place above the King's Chamber? Of course, if you go on the net, there are all sorts of theories on how this was done. But to the best of my knowledge and research, no one has ever come close to actually duplicating the feat. Then there's a supposedly smoking gun above the King's Chamber. It is the cartouche that names Khufu as the builder, however, not so fast, citizen. As far as I know, mainstream archaeology has yet to carry out their own experiments in regard to the red paint above the pyramid. But they're all too quick to label anyone who attempts to do so. Wait for it, a pseudo-archaeologist. So to the best of my knowledge, all you need to do is take some of the paint and do a C14 dating on it. And if it's an old, 3,000-4,000 year deal, then you're going to see that. But if it's not, what are you waiting for? And then who controls the test? Just like the Shroud of Turin, right? Where they were supposed to go in and take 3 samples. Let's pretend this was the shroud. 3 samples from 3 different parts of the shroud. They didn't do that. They took samples here from the corner of a shroud. And that's been proven that it was a reweave. It was a patch job, which completely skewed the C14 dating. I'm not making this up. Do you trust these people? I don't. Absolutely not in any way, shape, or form. So let's continue. There are sites some that claim that the paint is thousands of years old, but there are other sites that insist the cartouche is recent. So what's the truth? How do we know? And this is the problem. It's like with the shroud. It went international. Shrouds are fake. In the 15th century forgery. Those of us who were, syndonologists or amateur syndonologists, those of us who studied the shroud, but not so fast. There's too much evidence. It's not a painting. It's not a dye. There's no ink. There's no substance. How was this thing done? You got to check out our shroud film because it's unbelievable. And, but that's, if you go on the net right now, after the show, but you go on the net, right? Guess what you're going to find if you hit Shroud of Turin? All these things will come up, including Wikipedia. Oh, the shrouds of 15th century forgery. They never, ever corrected themselves. And shame on them for not correcting themselves. So, below is an artist's conception of what the Italian team discovered underneath the Giza Plateau. There it is right there. You can see it. So, what's interesting is these, and I'll get into this in just a little bit, resemble modern-day centrifuges. Look at the 8 cylindrical tubes that, according to the Italian team's scan data, descend some 2,100 feet below the Earth. If this holds true, then Egyptians had nothing to do with this, and history is rewritten. And Egyptologists can go back to kindergarten. Either way, it would be fairly simple to solve this mystery, since today we have earth movers and tunneling equipment that could easily reach where these spiral tubes are in a matter of a few weeks. The question remains, will the Egyptians allow this to happen? And that's interesting. I don't think they will, but we'll have to wait and see. So this is a shot of the King's Chamber. John, you can zoom in on that right there, and you can see the huge ashlars, these huge stones which are above the King's Chamber. Consider once again the gigantic spirals on each of those tubes, and next take a look at the photo of the uranium centrifuges from Iran. If you look at the Iranian centrifuges, and that's what we do in the article, right here in the article, we A-B them. So here are the spiral columns that go down 2,100 feet below the Earth, and then you can see the Iranian centrifuges up here. So when you look at the similarities between the centrifuges that we see in Iran and what we have underneath the Khafre Pyramid, what are we looking at here? We don't know. We don't know, but I find it absolutely incredible. There are those who speculate that under the pyramid structures at Giza were a power plant of some kind. If true, it ties in with my theory and others that before the flood of Noah, there was a grid system that covered the planet. We actually covered this in one of our watches. See what you're missing? In our Watchers film number 6, The Secret Cosmic War. Watchers, we went to Peru for the first time. We had a cosmic download. It was unbelievable. There was a global link up. Everything was connected before the flood, and then it was all destroyed in the flood. I'm not making this up. Giza was at the heart of its grid system and may have powered other places on Earth. Then the flood came and swept it all away. I was recently on the phone with my elder brother, Gary Stearman. We were discussing the breaking news about what may lie beneath the Giza Plateau. We both hold to the position that what we are looking at is a pre-flood complex that was built by the fallen angels. I refer to this as fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture. Only time and digging for the truth will reveal what lies beneath the mysterious Giza Plateau. However, I do not believe for an instant that the Egyptians had the skill, mathematics, engineering capabilities, knowledge of the land masses of Earth, and other incredible facts that are embedded in the pyramidal complex at Giza. What is the truth? That's it, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Before I go, we don't really have anything on this, but if you write Prophecy Watchers, you can get the magazine. You should sign up for Prophecy Watchers magazine. This is the first time L.A. Marzulli made the front cover, and you can see by my face, I'm really proud of this. It's quite an honor. But we're going to have the two scientists back on the show. There is also you can sign up for this. We'll get to the link soon on the website. You can sign up for this. You can zoom in and see their presentation. Thanks for watching. We'll be back again with another show real soon.